But some guys don't want to settle down.
Well, it turns out men just don't want to tie the knot, and I guess it's our fault. That's according to a controversial new book called Stand By Your Manhood, a game changer for modern men.
Joining us right now to offer her perspective for this debate, the author who is defending his book, Peter Lloyd, and developmental psychologist, Dr. Cooper Lawrence. Welcome to both here. First, all right, Mr. Author, you've gotten us into a lot of trouble. What are women doing to men to make them not want to get married?
I always say marriage is the fraud of the rings if you're a man. It's a wonderful institution if you're a woman because it safeguards you in so many ways. But generally, when marriages go wrong, as they frequently do, they generally fall in the favor of women. This is true in both America and in the UK. And let's be honest here, it's a contract. It's a legally binding contract, and it serves men. Not at all. So absolutely, men need to be wise to it and avoid it at all costs.
Peter, do you blame feminism?
I think there is a certain strand of feminism which has prioritized the safeguarding of women over men, even though we're all supposed to be equal. And I think what's happened is that now we live in a society where we're told men can't view women as sex objects, but women can view men as success objects, and that needs to change.
I want to bring in Dr. Cooper Lawrence here.
Okay, no, first of all, I mean, I have to go with the research. I mean, I think a lot of what Peter talks about is very anecdotal, but what the research shows is that women feel the same way. It's not just men. It's not like men are the ones who are deciding, you know, marriage isn't for me and women are trying to trap me. You know, the latest research shows that women feel the same way, and between the ages of 18 and 30, the emerging adults, they're less likely to want to get married at all. There was a Pew study done recently. 25% of millennials just never want to get married at all. That's women and men, and the majority are also women. So the idea that men are being trapped by women is ridiculous. You know, it's funny. Ask Men did this study recently, and they asked men. They asked 20,000 men, do you want to get married? 95% said absolutely. Marriage is definitely in my long-term plan. But the research is showing that men are getting married later, that women are getting married later, that people are getting married later. So I think what Peter's talking about might be people in their 20s and 30s,
Peter,
but once you get older.
Peter, you're focused on divorce. When divorce happens, your research shows men get screwed. They lose half of what they have. They can't see their kids in a lot of cases.
Yeah, absolutely. It happens all the time. And this is after, don't forget, this is after 50 years of so-called, you know, equality drive from feminism. If feminism was such an equality movement, and don't get me wrong, it's done some wonderful things, but if it was such an equality movement, why would it allow fathers to be so disenfranchised from families? Why would it even allow the very existence of alimony, which is such an old-fashioned concept? I'm sorry, the very basis of equality is that men don't need to subsidize women because they're independent and they can pay for their own lives and fund their own lives.
Actually, we talked about this on my radio show last night, and I was really surprised how many men and how many women called and said, you know, I don't want for the rest of my life. I want to be able to make my own money. And they don't. Well, if you gave up your life for a man and decided to have children and be home and you don't have a career, that's very different. But most of the women that called my radio show had their own lives and their own careers, and they were the ones that were being asked to pay alimony.
And child support.
Well, child support, I think everybody should pay. I mean, child support's important. We're talking about alimony.
Absolutely.
Free money for a succession of years.
All right, Dr. Cooper Lawrence here in the United States, and Peter Lloyd.
It always goes back to that old adage, sticks and stones may break my bones, but there will always be something to offend a feminist.
Peter Lloyd.
No, that's just obnoxious.
Peter
Sorry,
Lloyd
you have to give me a chance to respond to that. That is ridiculous. No, hang on.